tremendous looking trophy.
Hello and welcome to Platinum Explosion, number one PlayStation podcast in the Giannias. My name's Don Blight, and joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey John, excited to be here to talk about PlayStation unless it gets cancelled.
I think it would be something special if they
Or
managed
move to another project.
cancel themselves, but listen, can they cancel our podcast? But I don't know if that's a...
I mean, probably. If they really wanted to.
Could they? Really? I mean, what are we using? What have we got that's theirs technically? We're using a DualShock controller in the logo, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Cease and desist.
don't think they could claim for the platinum. We could just say that's just any old trophy.
The intro, the tiny snippet in the intro video from any of the number of games you've got in there.
Yeah, but I think they're all under so many seconds of screen time each. They would all pass.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just you know.
They could try though. That's all I'm saying.
They could try. Yeah. Please don't though. You know, go after someone else. Please leave us alone. All right, today on the show, in case you didn't gather by all that, yes, we're just talking about. We're mainly just going to be talking about PlayStation trying to cancel shit. I guess the massive Bloomberg story that's kind of splintered out into these several other different stories and bits and bobs, and that's about it that has happened in the last week within PlayStation news at least. So, let's get into it because it's interesting. That's what. So IGN break. I don't have the Bloomberg article because I read it on my phone the day it dropped, where it let me read it, and then when I went to open it on my PC, it's like, oh, you got subscribe now, and I'm like, I just wanted it again. Like I've read it, I just wanted it back up. But no, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna install a what are they called? The things that trick your IP. You know, some people use them to get on Netflix. What are they called? You know, the things that people use.
VPN.
Yeah, I'm not gonna install a VPN to get access to a Bloomberg article. So, all right. So IGN writes. Last of Us remake reportedly in development and Days Gone 2 pitch rejected. Sony Studios are reportedly working on a remake of The Last of Us while Sony Bend begins work on a new game after an unsuccessful 2019 pitch to make Days Gone 2. In a new Bloomberg report into dissatisfaction among Sony's lesser-known studios, sources say that a Last of Us remake, codenamed T1X, was started by Michael Mumbauer, the founder of Visual Arts Service Group, a Sony developer that traditionally assists development on PlayStation's games. Mumbauer apparently assembled a new 30-strong development group, and after passing on the idea of a remake of the first Uncharted game, settled on a remake of 2013's The Last of Us. However, the team reportedly ran into trouble after Sony kept their existence a secret and refused to offer extra budget. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Holst apparently deemed the project too expensive, and Mumbauer's team was moved to support development of The Last of Us 2. Bloomberg sources say that after The Last of Us 2 was completed, Sony moved multiple Naughty Dog developers onto the T1X project, and the remake effectively became a Naughty Dog project. Mumbauer and other original developers have now left the company, but the development of the remake is apparently continuing. So pin that, and then we'll come back to the Bend-related side of the story and stuff like that. Let's just break this down a little bit because there's lots of interesting directions you can take this and what the hell's actually going on behind the scenes at Sony. So this team, the Visual Arts Service Group, that is apparently the way at least Schreier writes about it in the Bloomberg article, very much seems like that studio is the one that has been a secret / not a big secret that a lot of people, including on this show several times, have said, hey, there's a secret studio apparently Sony's got. Maybe they're working on Uncharted 5. Like maybe they're working on a new Uncharted game. So it seems that's, unless they've got another secret studio, but the way Schreier writes about it, it very much seems like, hey, that secret studio wasn't working on a brand new game. They weren't working on a continuation of Uncharted. They were just working on they wanted to work on a remake of Uncharted, and then they wanted to do a Last of Us remake, and now they're just being pushed into Naughty Dog, basically.
They're doing what they were always doing, just assisting on different projects. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though they I just tackle the first thing because like I don't want to get down like is a remake of Uncharted or Last of Us a good idea? Just pin that for a second. But I do find it kind of shitty that Sony could greenlight or like pseudo greenlight either project and then kind of treat them like they don't exist. And that's like if you read the full Bloomberg article, it very much is written like they were like, you know, whoever said, yeah, you can try and do that. And then they went away for a while. You know, they weren't given any support. They weren't really treated like a proper studio within Sony. It was very much like, see if you can do it. And then once they had proof of concept, I guess, even for the Uncharted thing, apparently it was Herman Holst who was like, nah, not going to work. Then they start doing it on The Last of Us. And they're like, oh yeah, this could be a thing. But then they just like shove it over to Naughty Dog. But apparently the remake of Uncharted, Holst didn't like because it was going to cost too much money, because it's an older game and required more work and resources and tweaking of the gameplay, whereas a remake of The Last of Us is apparently going to work out to be a lot cheaper because it's a game that came out in 2013. It's not quite that old. It's a game that came out basically on it might as well have been the day before the PS4 came out. Like it always seems like in my memories it came out and then the PS4 launched like the week later. I know it wasn't that quick, but it always seemed like that. And then of course they did a PS4 what's it officially called? The Last of Us? Is it just The Last of Us remastered? Yeah, okay. I was wondering if there was a special name I'd completely forgotten. But yeah, I like just keeping that to its thing. How do you feel about Sony just kind of saying, here, go play for a bit, and then not really even acknowledging them as a proper team, or like wanting to give them the proper resources? Or
I don't know. It sounds very much like they were very much in the pre-production stage, like planning, seeing whether it would work, like very much like show me a concept. Like, you know, they're very much in the initial pitch stage, more than like it was definitely a thing that was going to happen. You know, it's crazy that like they were trying to keep the studio secret. Like, what's the point of that? Like, other than to like keep hush hush on what potential projects they're doing. And this probably stems from, you know, gamers, you know, the whole story of like games being announced too early and that kind of thing, and like rumors running wild all over the internet and that kind of thing. So them trying to maybe combat that to a certain degree, but probably not in the best way they possibly could have.
No, it's a weird one. So then let's take a pin out of the other half of this, which is that they wanted to do an Uncharted remake, and now they're doing a Last of Us remake. And the Last of Us remake, at least the way Jason writes about it in the Bloomberg report, very much seems like that's now a thing that's just happening at Naughty Dog for the most part, with help of whatever's left of this whatever visual arts service group, minus the few people that have left after all of this. So the Last of Us remake seems like a game that could be announced this year, by the sounds of it. How do you feel about the idea of an Uncharted remake, and how do you feel about the idea of us getting a remake of The Last of Us, like within maybe 12 months or something? I don't know.
Yeah, Uncharted remake, I mean, it's weird because both of them have had remasters in the last
couple years.
At least in the last generation, you know?
Yeah.
We had the Uncharted collection by Blue Point. Obviously, Naughty Dog did the remaster, so maybe a remake of Uncharted would have been pretty cool. Like, cut down on the jet ski stuff, you know? Get rid of the monsters. You don't need that, you know? Like, update the graphics, make it look as just like Uncharted 4. But, you know, it would have been interesting. Last of Us, that's an odd choice to do a remake. I think that's probably the shortest period we've had between original and remake. But I think potentially it's, hey, we've got this massive HBO TV show that we think is going to bring in a bunch of people. We should probably have an updated version of the game that people can buy if they love the show so much. And I feel like, obviously, it is like 7 years old, the original game, but, you know, unfortunately, in games media, like things age quickly, So I think that would have been a barrier to entry for a certain portion of the audience. But a remake beautifully done by Naughty Dog now, it would be something that would sell, and I feel like that's the important thing for PlayStation at the moment. Just having things they know will sell, especially early on in the console generation, like things that will move systems. That seems to be their priority at the moment. Last of Us remake. I think I don't know how much like Neil Druckmann had pull potentially at it getting moved to Naughty Dog, so he could have some level of oversight over it, seeing as it's his baby and everything. So who knows? We've only seen a small portion of the story, so we can only speculate at this point. Yeah,
I'll just get it out straight away. I don't really want either of these games. Like, Uncharted remake, that is a lot older game, and like, I agree about some things, jet skis and whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm like, would I care to play a remake of that one? Not particularly. It's like the least interesting story of all of the games, and like the rest, you could just go play. Like, if you want a good Uncharted to play, I don't know, just go play 4 again or something. Like go play 3 again, 2 again, even. Not as aged. The difference between 1 and 2 is massive considering the short gap between development. In The Last of Us, I played through The Last of Us Remastered last year prior to the release of The Last of Us 2. The game is fine. From a gameplay perspective, there is little differences between that and the second one, in my opinion. Like, of course, the second one is a little, the crafting system is a bit better, the shooting is a bit better. Everything's like slightly better. There's a few more of the action-heavy sequences that you saw in like Uncharted 4 that show up in Last of Us 2 that weren't part of Last of Us Part 1. The stealth's better in Last of Us Part 2. Like, everything is better, right? But like on a scale of, does it need a remake? No. I certainly don't think so. But I would agree with the reasoning behind it, with what you said. I do think this is we're about to have a massive HBO show that they're obviously expecting to do quite well, not just with gamers, I guess, watching it, but also maybe HBO has a lot of faith that it'll pick up just general audience traction, and they want that. They want the game. I understand that from a business,
financial,
whatever point of view, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like this is just Sony showing that they're putting all of their eggs in one basket, and or at least 2 baskets. Like, one basket seems to be The Last of Us because of how well it did last year. It's like they had like the biggest game of last year. It's winning all these awards. Blah 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 blah. They're gonna remake it. They'll fucking remake 2 next year or some shit. Who knows? We're gonna get a remaster of 2 for the PS5. Like, that's gonna happen as well. Like, we're gonna have a Last of Us. You're gonna have a Last of Us remake. You're gonna have a Last of Us 2 remaster for the PS5. You're gonna have Last of Us Factions or whatever it's called eventually released. Like, we're gonna be getting Last of Us shit semi-regularly, add on with the HBO show and whatever else. But I guess you could compare this. I know it's not as big because this example's movie didn't do as well, but when the Ratchet & Clank movie came out, they wanted the Ratchet & Clank game. And the funniest thing about that is that I never watched the movie, and I don't know anyone who actually has watched the movie, but I know lots of people who play and love the game, obviously. And even funnier is the fact that some of the cutscenes in that game, Ratchet and Clank, the remake, what year did that come out? 2000? I don't even know. It's like 3-4 years old or something?
I think it's like 5 years.
Jesus, 5 years.
I think I just saw a post. Yeah.
2016 then. So Ratchet and Clank 2016, which is a remake. People who never played the old games may not realize, but it is a remake of the first game. With some slight changes to, most notably, and the thing that stands out, of course, is the changes between the dynamic between Ratchet and Clank in that game and how they don't hate each other from the outset, and that kind of changes things. But that game's, a lot of the cutscenes in that game are just scenes pulled directly from the movie. Like, they're literally just a scene from the movie, and it's a cutscene. But the thing is, like, you wouldn't, like, if you don't know this, you may be listening to this going, wow, really? Like, I never, because it's not like the movie cutscenes look so much better, because the game already looks really good, you know? Like, when the movie
Some would say the game looks better than the movie.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. But it's not like when a movie scene plays in that game, you're like, wow, shock horror. So, this isn't the first time, I guess, that Sony's gone, hey, we've got a movie or a show or whatever coming up. Maybe this is a thing that we can see. But then this also had me thinking, like, okay, so if this is a play that Sony's going to continue to do, does that mean we're going to get a Twisted Metal remake when that's on the horizon? Does that mean that, what are they going to do for Uncharted? That's like, what kind of release that, if they've skipped on the remake here, are we going to get
That's why they keep delaying it.
Are they going to get a repackaged Uncharted for PS5 or something? You know what I mean? Like,
they keep delaying the movie so they can get the game out of it.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, you kind of can see how Sony is looking at their future to a degree. They're like, we're going to focus on, we're going to have these core big franchises that we know do really well. We're going to turn those franchises into more than games. We're going to turn them into media franchises, be that TV shows or movies, or anime, what have you. We're gonna build on those, and then when that brings in a new audience, we're gonna have a new game or a remake of a game that audience can then buy, and then the old fans will buy it anyway, and then we'll like make a new game, and then we'll make a new movie or a TV show, and so that seems to be what they're like. If you look at all the stepping stones they've been kind of placing in the last 12, 24 months or whatever, that very much seems like what their potential plan is as a multimedia company, I guess. Like, not just PlayStation, but Sony as a whole, teaming up with PlayStation and being like, let's turn all this shit into this mass corporation. Now, the problem with this, of course, is they're gonna run out of. Anytime you put all your eggs in several baskets or one basket, you're gonna, it's risk and reward, and it's potentially gonna piss off fans. So let's tie this into the other part of the story. IGN continues, as part of the same report, Bloomberg also says that Sony Bend pitched a sequel to Days Gone after the game's release in 2019, but the project was rejected. Sony then apparently moved Bend developers onto two Naughty Dog projects, a multiplayer game, presumably the standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, and a new Uncharted project, which has also been rumored recently. Sony Bend's staff reportedly left as a result of having their autonomy taken away, and leadership allegedly complained to Sony and asked to be moved off of Uncharted development. Sony Bend is now apparently working on a new original game, but it's not clear if this is a Days Gone 2 or a brand new game. Update Eurogamer reports that sources claim a Sony Bend developed Uncharted game was planned to be a new chapter for the series, possibly a prequel, and was intended as something of a reboot for the series. It's unclear if those plans have persisted with Bend off the project. So yeah, there's a couple of things to note there. A, they tried to put them on the multiplayer Naughty Dog game. 100% Last of Us. What the fuck else would it be? Two, the fact that they put them on an Uncharted project, but we still don't know if that's being in development or not. They've been moved away. I'm going to presume it's still in development, and they just moved a different team onto that. Because, again, they want, when the movie comes out, if they don't have it there, they want it within the next 6 months, I guess. Or if they don't have it at the launch of it coming to the cinema, they'll want it at the launch of it coming to Netflix. Since we now know that...
In America. Yeah.
Yes, since we now know that Sony's got that Netflix deal with Netflix in America or whatever. So, yeah, all right. So, I was going to add on to this, but let's just take it step by step before I get too much information going. But how do you feel about Sony Bend, who I feel, if you look at their track record, they did the hard yards, They did a lot of PSP sequel, prequel games for Sony to kind of get their project. They did Siphon Filter back in the day, and then I was like, no, you have to do this Resistance PSP game, you have to do Uncharted Vita game, you have to, and they did all that. They did they played ball, I guess, is one way you could put it. And then they were finally like, Sony's like, you can work on your own original game now, like go for gold. And they did Days Gone. And Days Gone, financially, by all reports, did quite well. Around the world, quite well. It, surprisingly, in Japan, did really fucking well, which I still can never get over how well that game did in Japan. So Days Gone critically did all right. It's got like a 70-something Metascore, maybe high 60s. I can't remember what it is now. It certainly didn't do terrible. I know that's the narrative that everyone likes to portray, I guess, that Days Gone critically was a flop. I think Days Gone was critically a flop if you compare it solely to The Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, if you want to. Like, if you want to compare it to Sony's other original games, like that in recent memory, yeah, it didn't do anywhere near that 80 plus that Sony probably expects from their games. But if you want to take away the fact that it's a Sony exclusive, it's all right. Like, it's got an average score. It certainly didn't. People weren't like, this is the worst fucking game ever. It was like, most people would probably it's probably got an average of like a 6 or something, right? If you was to go into it. Nothing to write home about, but it's certainly not the narrative of Days Gone is garbage. It reviewed terribly. Reviewed okay. But it sold really well, which you'd think in the world of business, like like sold really well should be the full stop potentially there. But apparently not, because Sony's like, nah, not good enough. Off you go. Go help at Naughty Dog. Go help make their multiplayer game. Go help make a new Uncharted. And that caused, I mean, Jeff Ross left, a couple of people left, the creatives of the team left, right? And that was like 6 months ago or whatever. Probably talked about it on this show at some point. But yeah, how do you feel about Sony, I don't know, treating Bend like this? Like just basically turning them from, as I point out here, their own anatomy and going, well, now you're a B team. Now you're helping Naughty Dog.
I mean, I think it was a combination of a bunch of things. Obviously, there was 3 or 4 different projects. I might be exaggerating. It might have been two or so projects that we're working on before Days Gone that got scrapped for various reasons. And then for it to have a poor initial reception, I think probably they lost a lot of faith from Sony, you know? I think if the game had been the game that we have now at day of launch, Days Gone 2 would have been greenlit within a second. But, you know, because it was buggy as hell at the start, at release, and then, you know, it obviously didn't do as critically well as the other games. Obviously, they were not seen in as the same light as San Diego, Santa Monica, or the other studios, you know, that had got Game of Year talk, you know, and then, you know, I guess they just didn't have. They had and they've got The Last of Us as well, which is a very similar, from the outside, a very similar world to Days Gone. On the most basic of levels.
I guess I can. Okay. Just to clarify, because I just looked on Metacritic, Days Gone has a Metascore of 71 based off 109 critic reviews. So my point stands. Like even if that score is a 60 something, my point would still stand. You know what I mean? Like it's not the way people talk about it being like a 3 or, you know, like a bad, like in the red kind of thing. Certainly not. So let's tie on this other IGN story. They write, Jeff Ross, the former game director of Days Gone, has revealed that the pitch for Days Gone 2 featured plans for a shared universe and cooperative play component. Talking to God of War creator David Jaffe as part of a live stream on Jaffe's YouTube channel, Ross discussed topics that arose in the wake of Bloomberg's recent report about unsuccessful Days Gone 2 pitch from developer Bend Studio. While Ross was unable to confirm if Days Gone 2 was indeed rejected due to a non-disclosure agreement, he did reveal a few details about the pitch he submitted for a Sony sequel, saying, quote, "We wanted co-op from the beginning in Days Gone 1, but obviously you have to make conscious concessions for what you're not going to be able to do." When asked by Jaffe if the ideas of co-op mode would have been implemented in the sequel, Ross said, quote, "It's one of the things that we had in our pitch. Yeah, it was the idea of a shared universe with co-op play," end quote. Explained the vision for the co-op, Ross described it as, quote, "This world that you've built and all these assets and systems and repurpose them for some sort of similarly themed multiplayer version of this universe. So it'd be with the guys like Deacon trying to survive, building up a clubhouse or a crew. I think it would be fun in that world cooperatively and see what horde battles could be like. End quote. While Ross's openness about an unannounced game does make it feel as if Days Gone 2 is probably not going to happen, Ross reinforced that he can confirm that the game situation, he basically went on to say, hey, it could happen, it may not, like, not burning his bridges, basically. So it very much does seem, especially, so I'll bring up someone else in a second too, but Jeff Ross on Twitter was doing the very much like, hey, I can't say anything because of NDA, but if you look at my Twitter likes, and I'm only liking tweets that very much are like, hey, did Sony can you because of, like, did you leave because they wouldn't let you do Days Gone 2 or something like that? And then he's like liking those tweets while also being like, I can't say anything. It's like, it's pretty obvious what he's trying to say there. It very much seems like the narrative, at least reading between the lines, is they wanted to do Days Gone 2. They probably had ideas for Days Gone 2. They pitched them to Sony. Sony said, nah, not yet. You've got to go help out Naughty Dog. And maybe they agreed at first. Maybe they thought it was just going to be a short-term thing. And then maybe when it seemed like it was going to last a lot longer, that's when a lot of the heads of the studio, Ross and other people, were like, nah, fuck this shit, and they left. Because a whole bunch left. Especially like writers, directors, and that sort of stuff. So, and interestingly now, Bend is back.
Which makes sense if they're just doing. They probably weren't going to be creative on those projects.
No.
So why would you stay somewhere that you're really just there to pick up a paycheck to a certain degree?
No, but also to a certain degree, let me ask this question: why does Sony have Sony Bend if they just like look? I know this may sound mean or whatever, but let's just like I want Sony Bend to be Sony Bend. I want Days Gone 2. I've talked about in this show a lot how much I actually like Days Gone, even though I gave it a 6 or whatever. And it's now very playable on PS5, and that's where you should play it. It's quite a good game. In fact, I saw I can't remember who it was now. I saw someone tweeting this morning when I woke up. I was like, hey, I'm trying out Days Gone on PS5. It's actually pretty good. The writing's pretty good. The character's actually quite human and not over the top or whatever. I was like, yeah, okay. Enjoys. But if you want Sony Bend to just be Naughty Dog B Team or whatever, Naughty Dog, whatever city they're located in, right? So if you look up Bend and find out whatever city they're in, then just call them Naughty Dog. You know what I mean? Like, you know how
Oregon.
Oregon, there you go. So Naughty Dog Oregon. You know how
Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, Bend, Oregon. But it would be Naughty Dog Oregon, is what I mean, yeah. Like, make them Naughty Dog Oregon.
Well, Bend is the name of the city they're in. That's why they're called Bend Studio.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do that because they'll just shoot me wounds. They wouldn't call them Naughty Dog Bend. But if you want all your eggs in one basket and you want to put everything all in on Naughty Dog and The Last of Us and Uncharted and whatever the upcoming potential new IP is, who knows, then just like make it up front, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, just make it up front and be like, let's just do this. You're gonna be the B team, whatever else like this, because it sounds like a lot of broken promises. But if you read between the lines, and maybe that's just Jeff Ross being upset, because I guess he's allowed to be upset that he's the director of a project and it's not well received. One thing I will say, I skimmed through that David Jaffe full thing. It's like 4 fucking hours. I had to find a way to watch it first because I forgot I had blocked David Jaffe on Twitter because he's David Jaffe. So, like him or don't like him, but I don't want his tweets on my timeline most of the time. But I skimmed through the YouTube thing, and there's like one point where Jaffe says something like, oh man, like I thought it was a pretty good game, and the critics don't always get it right. Fuck the critics, all this sort of stuff. And I was like, a lot of people, if you actually read the critic reviews, a lot of people, myself included, including a lot of other reviews I've read, are people literally just being like, I actually like a lot of this game, but as of the time of writing a review, it's quite fucking broken. So this is why it's getting a lower score. Like, how is that? I was like, how is this a David Jaffe thing of being like, man, fuck the critics? I'm like, it's you can't argue with the fact that launch it was kind of a technical fuck up. Anyway, yeah, how would you how do you feel about all this added information that we got from the David Jaffe side of his whatever show? I don't know if it was a show or if it was just a election.
Do I think it's broken promises? No, to a certain degree, because they were working on those kind of projects before they were giving the opportunity to, to make Days Gone, to make a AAA title, and they didn't, as much as you want to say otherwise, they didn't knock it out of the park. So, you open yourself up when you don't knock something out of the park to go back to what you were doing previously. Which is harsh, but that's as a sports fan, that's like kind of the story for a lot of like players and that kind of thing. If they don't like really nail their opportunity when they get it, then they're back kind of to where they were previously. Days Gone 2, I think there's still a chance. I don't think it was necessarily a game that needed to have a sequel made, put in development straight away. Especially, I don't think the demand was there at that time straight after release, like there was for Horizon or God of War.
But given how long games take, you kind of do have to get straight into development. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I don't think so.
You do because
how many years between Last of Us and Last of Us 2?
Forever. But how many years was it in development?
Yeah.
How many years was it in development? They didn't start developing it 2 years ago. That's my point. Like, unlike movies where you can be like, hey, we just released a movie, we'll sit on it for a couple of years, then we'll make the sequel. Games is a completely different thing where it's like, hey, we want to have a sequel out within the next 5 years. Well, you better start now. Because
maybe they didn't want it in 5 years.
No, but my point still stands. Like, it's a completely different beast to movies or TV where development can take 5+ years on a lot of these big games.
We don't know what else is on their current slate of lineup of games at the moment. They could be, like they don't have a spot for for Days Gone 2. But yeah, I think it made sense that they wouldn't push it straight away, especially given I feel like this was definitely a game that built on word of mouth over time. The ideas for Days Gone 2, a full co-op thing, that sounds cool, ambitious, very different to any other PlayStation first-party property or game at the moment. So that would have made it stand out a bit more, but, maybe it'd be... I don't know, what was the timing? Was it Sean Layden was still in charge at the time, right?
No, not when it came out. I think.
Oh, no, because it was only... It was last year, wasn't it?
No, it was the year before, I think. I know.
Yeah,
time flies.
Sean Layden was still been in charge of the studio. Human Health wasn't until end of 2019, I want to say.
Well, I was going to bring Sean Layden up. Sean Layden left September 30th, 2019. So Days Gone came out like June, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would have been winding down. He wouldn't have made any decisions of Days Gone 2's a thing or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but since you brought it up, Sean Layden is someone I wanted to bring up because obviously there's been a lot of talks about Days Gone 2. I would say from just finishing up kind of on Days Gone 2, if you look on Twitter, Days Gone 2, more so than The Last of Us getting a remake, has been the biggest topic, I think, of this. I've seen more people, and if you search Twitter for like Days Gone,
that's because everybody hates Last of Us now. Remember?
I don't know, but like I've seen articles and all this stuff where it's like, man, people, DualShockers or whoever had an article yesterday, like, look at all these fucking people tweeting like how much they want a sequel to this game. It very much is like everyone's like, man. So I don't know if Sony's going to be like, man, I did not realize people actually like Days Gone, but it's.
I think the interesting thing as well about this story is the timing, with Days Gone being on PS Plus at the moment for free.
Yes. Well, Yeah, I highly doubt Jason Schreier was like, man, I might drop this Bloomberg story solely because Days Gone's on PS Plus, but but it kind of helps.
No, it's just interesting.
It kind of helps that yeah. So if you don't have a PS5,
be interesting to see how many people jump into it now.
Yeah, if you don't have a PS5, and
just so they can be righteously furious, is not a sequel.
You can play Days Gone literally free wherever you are. PS5, PS Plus collection, PS Plus, PlayStation 4. Just play Days Gone. Yeah. So yeah, there's been a lot of love for Days Gone, I would say, and there's been a lot of love to Bend, a lot of love to the developers over at Bend, who the big names on Twitter I've seen over this game. So, sad story for the most part, especially for fans of the game. But
I'll say it's also easier to be angry than I think be happy.
I guess I don't even know if people are angry though. They're just sad. Well, they kind of are. So the anger has shifted though. So between this latest story about. Because there's so many things getting crammed into this one topic of discussion, I feel at this point. It is Sony's remaking The Last of Us. No one seems to want that. I haven't seen one positive thing about that. I don't know if you have, but I have not seen one person tweet like, I actually want this. Like everyone's like, no one wants The Last of Us remake. But more so, it's less, we don't want The Last of Us remake. It's like, what a waste of. That seems to be an angle most people are taking. They're like, what a waste of people. Like, give us a new game. Give us a new IP. Give us a sequel to Days Gone instead, which was a new IP, Like, stop just giving us a fucking remake of a game that came out 6 years, 7 years, whenever it was. So then they're tying in other things, which is all that Sony Japan studio stuff that's been happening over the last couple of months of, people leaving, people quitting, people being restructured, them being like, we're restructuring it, but then like tearing apart and like we're starting a new studio. Like, who knows what the fuck's going on over there? It's really hard to keep up, as we've been discussing the last month or so about what's going on over there. And then people started like tweeting at Sean Layden and being like, man, after this Bloomberg story, all these people started tweeting at Sean Layden and being like, man, I miss Sean Layden, all this stuff. Of course, he can't say shit, right? He would be under NDAs or whatever as well. But if you go to Sean Layden's
what's he liking?
Yeah, if you go to Sean Layden's Twitter and you click at what he's liking, I'm just going to scroll through here to see what ones I got spot because he was liking a lot. It's like this person's like at Sean Layden was a good man who did an awesome announcement. It's cool games for PlayStation. Without him, PlayStation ecosystem is going down. He liked that. He liked one.
Well, I'm sure he liked the first half.
At one, he said, "PlayStation, Sean Layden, come back. We miss you." He's missing.
What's not to like about that?
He's tweeting all these other people. He's like, we miss you. You did such a good job. A lot of people were sharing this video that Lance McDonald actually uploaded in 30th, end of November last year. He uploaded this video of saying 6 years ago, Sean Layden delivered the most forgotten speech from PlayStation at E3. Which for some reason it really stuck with me as the thing that makes PlayStation so appealing. The CEO is saying, quote, it wasn't a multi-million seller, but that wasn't the point. And I can't remember what game he's talking about, but it's Vib Ribbon. He's talking about Vib Ribbon, yeah. And basically it's this thing where Sean Layden's like, look, sometimes you just gotta make games for games and, fun and all this sort of stuff. So a lot of people started sharing that video and being like, man, this is the PlayStation we miss. We miss PlayStation taking chances on smaller indie games. We miss PlayStation taking chances on new IPs. We miss PlayStation taking chances on just weird shit. And to be honest, I don't think anyone could argue with the fact that during the PS4 era, under Sean Layden, PlayStation did take chances on a lot of weird shit. Like, there was a lot of really weird indie stuff that they either pushed or, like, focused or whatever. I always think about the fact Entwined was on during E3, and they were, like, spent 5 minutes on it, and then was like, it's out now, it's free, or whatever it was. I'm like, why are you... It's, like, such a weird E3 focus. Like, it wasn't, all on the big wigs and the big things. And he certainly was someone that a lot of people give credit towards a lot of the remaking of the older games now. Like, everyone remembers him coming out in that Crash shirt and all that sort of stuff. Like, a lot of people give him credit for, I guess, forging those relationships or getting those.
So when they remake Crash, it's all fun and dandy, that game was remake The Last of Us.
Yeah, because that game's 20 years old! What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Activision had a terrible, crappy spin-off only a few years prior.
That does not count.
Probably not.
So yeah, Sean Layden has been liking
They just put him in Skylanders.
No, that does not count either. Sean Lane has been liking a lot of tweets. Like this person here is like a true legend of PlayStation. The fans will never forget all you did. And believe me, we're eternally grateful. Hope to see you in the industry once again, blah, 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 blah. So people went on this really big, like Sean Lane day. I'll tell you what, Jack Tretton.
Why wouldn't you like that stuff? It's all nice.
Well, of course that's why he's liking it. But the fact that he's liking it was the kind of shocking thing. You don't usually see people in his position liking stuff like that when it's less that he's liking nice tweets, it's the message behind them all. Because although all the tweets are saying nice things, what these tweets are spurred from is people being like, fuck Jack Tretton, fuck current day PlayStation. We need... Sorry, not Jack Tretton. That was who he preceded.
Jim Ryan.
Just so, what's his fuck?
Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan. Yeah, sorry.
Who's the current? Yeah,
sorry. Jim Ryan. He's like, fuck Jim Ryan. Everyone's like, fuck Jim Ryan. Fuck current day PlayStation. Fuck what's going on here. And that's why people are tweeting nice things at him. So it's not that he's just liking nice things. It's like him liking those things. People are now going to take that as this, ammo for their gun as to, Sean Lane doesn't like current PlayStation either kind of thing. And you can definitely see that being the narrative. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see that at the moment, I would say PlayStation is in hot water, with its own fans, which is surprising because often when PlayStation's doing stuff that's annoying people, you've usually got the hardcore PlayStation fan base that'll be like, no, Sony can do no wrong. Everything's fine here. I would say over the last couple of weeks, with all the news that keeps coming out, let's add in the closing the stores as well, because that's definitely part of this as well. Like it's all part of the tipping people over. It's like closing the stores that was pissing people off. Last of Us Remake, we don't like that. No Days Gone 2 sequel, we don't like that. We don't like this, we don't like that. It seems like they have had nothing but news that has pissed people off within the last month or so, or whatever at this point. And it's something to behold. I don't know. I don't know how they can come out and sort of like ease the waters at this point or what they're going to do. But yeah, a lot of people seem to be, I don't know, to a degree, rightfully pissed off about Sony's decision making. And to a degree, a lot of people saw it coming because no one wanted old Jimmy Ryan in charge. Everyone thought he was going to be, everyone was scared of him getting in charge because of things he said in the past about, like backwards compatibility is bad. Who wants to play old games? Like all these sorts of quotes that people kept being like, man, PlayStation's going to go to shit under him. And then for a while, everyone's like, oh, maybe it won't be so bad. And now there's just a lot of stuff happening that people just don't agree with, I guess. So, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
Lot to unpack from that. I think Sony is still doing like weird games. They're just not doing it the same way they used to be. They're like supporting obviously indie games, and that's where all those kind of weird ideas flourish. We've got that weird robot cat game coming. We got the weird ad during the press release. We got Bugsnax day one game PS Plus.
I mean, they're not publishing these though.
They weren't publishing these other weird games.
Some of them they were, or they were funding at least some part back in the day.
I'm sure they're funding it by the deals they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of this, it's easy to get outraged when you get the messaging at the start. It's easy to get outraged at the announcement of stuff. But we can't really judge this stuff until, we're 2-3 years from now when these things are coming to fruition. Do you think that Last of Us game is not going to be loved by a bunch of people? Do you think nobody's going to buy that game?
Oh, no, it's still going to sell.
Yeah. People don't know what they want.
I mean, I don't know. It just, like, it could still sell, but I'm just thinking big picture and going, like, I don't really understand what Sony's doing now.
Also, this is the company that they publish Dreams. So, all talk of them not supporting weird games is off the table.
I mean, I think they kind of fucked up with Dreams, to be honest. But
no, the audience fucked up with Dreams. They didn't realize.
Well, no, I don't think they promoted it well. I don't think they've done a good job to promote it post release. I don't really feel like they've done I don't feel like Sony actually knows what they've got with Dreams, and they haven't really done a good job at promoting it. Like, it's very easy for us to be like, we know what Dreams is, we talk about it, whatever else, but
Yeah.
Joe Schmo Gamer probably doesn't even know what the hell Dreams is. They probably they've probably seen it and be like, oh, it just creates games. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't feel like they've done a very good job at promoting Dreams to general gaming audiences. So, I think they kind of fucked up there. And a lot of the times in recent memory, I feel like Sony has released stuff and then after the fact being like, oh, this is something that's good. Actually, we should promote it. Even back when, I remember that the furthest back example I can actually think of this is Until Dawn, where they had like zero promotion up until release, because I just think they weren't sure what the hell it was or if it was going to even do well. And then like it was a week or so after release when it was getting all these good reviews and people were like streaming a lot or whatever, and you know everyone was in love with that game. Then all of a sudden they started pumping out all these ads for it, and like you go on IGN and suddenly a week or so after release, now they've paid out for the banner ads, and stuff like that. It's like, you fucked up.
That makes sense. People couldn't buy it before.
No, you don't have. Come on. Don't fuck around, Ash. If they buy banner ads at launch, not 2 weeks after launch, that's a very obvious sign that they were like, oh, fuck, like this is doing good. Maybe we can push it more. Yeah, I don't know. Sony's lots of weird decisions in the last couple of years. All right, so let's try this other one. So, Eurogamer wrote, Sony's plotting a big push into mobile gaming with the PlayStation's biggest games key to the effort. A job advertisement for head of mobile PlayStation Studios SIE reveals plans for successful candidate to, quote, focus on successfully adapting PlayStation's most popular franchises for mobile. You'll be responsible for building and scaling a team of mobile leaders and will serve as head of this new business unit within the PlayStation Studios, end quote. So, they're AAA games, their main games or whatever, they're turning them onto movies. I guess in my mind, this just continues what I was talking about before, where they're just going to make mobile games of all these franchises that we're talking about. All these ones that they're remaking and making sequels for, and all the ones that are getting turned into movies and TV shows, they want to turn into mobile games as well and break into that audience. So you're going to have an Uncharted game, you're going to have an The Last of Us game, you're going to have a Horizon game, you're going to have a Gran Turismo game, I guess, you're going to have a fucking whatever else game. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, because it's hard to tell at this stage what exactly the key type of mobile game Sony would like to create is. Like, are they going for loot box microtransaction bullshit? Are they going for...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, most likely. Or in a weirder case, like the very slim chance, are they going for high caliber, you pay once, you play it, like just straight up on the go, good experiences. So it's this trip. We don't know yet, but this is the first time they've officially stepped. Like, we're going to have our own mobile. Like, we're not teaming up with someone else. We're going to have our own in-house kind of mobile thing. So yeah, what do you think?
It's fine. I mean, the mobile space is obviously a huge market, so it makes sense that they would try to capitalize on it with some of their massive franchises. I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to get some sort of Gran Turismo racing car game. Maybe not up to the caliber they want, and that would be the only concern. I could imagine, them having Last of Us Factions or something available to play on phones.
Last of Us Faction Mobile, PUBG Mobile competition.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Mobile competition. I don't know.
You can have some Last of Us like crafting. Last of Us Shelter.
You'd play that.
Only if it's got a platform.
You have to port the mobile game over to
maybe they install some system within their mobile games that connects to your gamer account that gives you a platinum trophy for these.
All over it. How much money do I have to spend on microtransactions?
Unfortunately, they're all pay to win, but yeah.
Doesn't matter. Hundreds of dollars ready to be wasted over here. I'm just going to start buying my lotto tickets twice a day today to try and cover the costs later when these games come out. But yeah, I think this all makes sense. I think the fact that Nintendo was ahead of the curve on the mobile thing was actually one of the surprising things in more recent gaming industry stuff. Like the fact Nintendo, if you'd asked me like 10 years ago, I guess, like, who out of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo would step into mobile gaming first? I would have been like, I don't know, like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. It's like the order of likelihood. But Nintendo's been all over that shit, and it must be doing really well for them because they continue to make games or experiences or weird toothbrush things or Mario Kart games or, you know, like obviously Pokemon Go is one of the biggest mobile games in the world. So yeah, we shall see what they have. I can't really think of an exact like mobile PlayStation title that I would want to play. This article does point out that some of the PlayStation games have dipped their toes into over the years, though like they've never fully committed to anything. It's like there was a Run Sackboy Run thing, there was a top-down puzzle game, Uncharted Fortune Hunter, Hidden Agenda and Flavorworks Erica. So like I don't know, let's just say. All right, last story that I wanted to talk about was the reveal of this game called Abandoned last week. So IGN writes, PS5 exclusive Abandoned is not a secret Kojima game. Director says rumors weren't fun. So they write, the game director of PS5 exclusive Abandoned has responded to rumors about the game being a secret Hideo Kojima project and teased that it will receive a demo and a potential closed alpha test. Revealed earlier this week, Abandoned is a cinematic first-person horror survival shooter with realistic visuals, pegged to launch in Q4 2021. Developer Blue Box Game Studios has a quite social media presence, a fairly unknown history, and released a PT-esque trailer, all of which led some fans to believe that it was actually a front for a new Kojima Productions project. The studio quickly released an official response to the rumors on the company website, saying, quote, "We have no association with Hideo Kojima, nor do we claim to have any association, nor was it our intention to claim such a treatment. We are a small group of developers working on a passionate title we wanted to work on for a long time," end quote. In an interview with IGN, Blue Box Game Studios director Hassan Karam spoke in more detail about the rumors, saying, quote, "It wasn't fun, but it did make me laugh. At first I was receiving messages from people telling me that they've been watching me and that I, as Kojima, used some marketing tricks to promote his next game. I didn't know what they meant until I Googled it." So I just thought this was interesting and just like kind of a sign of maybe people need to calm down with all the like everything's a secret Kojima game reveal or, you know, like whatever, all this sort of stuff. Because I was thinking about it when this was all happening. Because you watch the trailer for Abandoned, I don't think other than, like I personally don't think it has any Kojima-esque things in it. It just looks like a creepy horror game. I don't understand how people are like it's got PT-esms or whatever, PT-esque vibes to it, unless that's literally the only horror game you've ever played in your entire life, at which point then I guess any horror game trailer is going to be PT related to you. Like, I guess.
But it's set outdoors, right?
Yeah, and PT's indoors. Like it's in one fucking hallway. So I don't know. But for a start, I'll say the game looks cool. Obviously, it was only a teaser trailer. It like sets a vibe, creepy vibe. At the end of the trailer, it shows someone holding a gun to be like, "Hey, there is going to be shooting in this game." I'm looking forward to finding out more. I know. So cool teaser trailer. But the story was, why the fuck? And I can't imagine being that developer. I think I would actually be pissed, you know, because you kind of reveal a game. You want people to be excited for your game. And instead of people, I mean, you could say, hey, but at least they're talking about the game to a degree, but not really. You know, no one's actually talking about the game.
I mean, they're excited about it, but excited about
they're excited about it because they think it's a Hideo Kojima game. So does that mean that the second everyone's like, they confirmed it's not actually a Kojima game, that people are like, nah, fuck this game then? You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know, it's just kind of, I'm like, maybe we all need collectively to calm down on assuming that any horror teaser trailer thing that you can't find out all the information about is secretly a Kojima project. Because I know Kojima does some weird things. And I'm sure he'll do some, you know, weird things when he announces his next game. But announcing it under a fake developer thing, I'm going to say is not going to be how it goes. I don't think that's how it's going to.
No, not anymore.
No.
He doesn't need to do that anymore.
No, I don't think so.
I think in the long term, it's probably it'll end up being a good thing for them. Obviously, their trailer got seen by more people than it ever would have, I would imagine, if it hadn't accidentally been connected to Kojima. But obviously, it'll be interesting to see the actual sales when it comes out and like how many people are still interested in
But
it.
when the gameplay trailer drops, is the news titles going to be game that was mistaken for Kojima game gets first gameplay trailer? You know what I mean? Like, is that the annoying narrative?
No, because that story will be over.
Fuck, I hope so.
It won't be the headline.
I hope so. That would be.
I think it'll be like a footnote.
That would be
in the story.
That would be quite annoying, to be honest. But just on the game looks pretty cool. He continued here saying, "All I wanted to do is tease our game regarding our social media presence. We're a small team and not a big AAA studio. It's already hard to work on a highly polished game for PS5. We really can't spare time to work on our social media presence full time while it's important." I've never related more to a single quote talking about anything in my life. Where I was like, wow, if we change this to Explosion Network, all I wanted to do was work on our reviews and podcasts. Regarding our social media presence, we're a small team and not a big AAA place. It's already hard work to work on high polished podcasts and articles. So we can't really spare too much time to work on our social media presence full time. I was like reading this the other day. I'm like, fuck, it's me. We need to improve our social media game. I don't have the time. It's relatable. So maybe that's why I felt so bad for this person. I don't know. Anyway, they said the game's 4K. It's running 60. It looks quite pretty. Even if you don't care for horror games, I suggest looking up the trailer just because the visuals of the forest, and that's basically all the trailer is. The forest is. It's quite a good looking game. And yeah, I'm intrigued to see more about the game, and I'm intrigued to see when Kojima announces his next game, be that on PlayStation or Xbox. But let's just all take a step back and chill out for a fucking second, eh? All right, that'll do it for this week's episode. I look forward to this coming week to see what else PlayStation can announce and people can get annoyed or angry about. What the fuck is going to happen? It's a crazy world out there. Who knows what's going to happen next? Let us know your comments, questions, and concerns, or anything we've talked about. Let us know if you love Sean Layden, Twitter or Discord. You can find our Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can find our Discord by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Discord. And you can also, if you'd like to, and you like this episode, you give us $1 or more by heading to our Ko-fi page, explosionnetwork.com/support, and the way to show support for our show by buying us a coffee. And remember that every trophy counts. Hey, don't forget you can subscribe to the show wherever you're currently listening, and you can drop a review if you can. Find more great shows like this and more content over at explosionnetwork.com, and please consider supporting us for as little as $1 over on our Ko-fi page by heading to explosionnetwork.com/support. Thanks for listening.